Hello, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. Well, this is Holy Week in the Christian calendar, the week that includes and culminates in not just Good Friday, but ultimately Easter Sunday. And during this week, I've been looking at devotional ideas that have motivated and captivated and inspired believers for over almost 2,000 years, as we've contemplated those seminal events that as Christians we believe form the pinnacle of significance and meaning in human history. And so I'm inviting you on this journey with me, and today is what's called typically Holy Wednesday. And among the myriad of traditions that look at different things, one of the passages many Christians use on today as a focus point is the story of Jesus going to the house of Simon the leper that's recounted in Matthew 26. Now, Simon was a very typical man's name at the time of Jesus in that area. And so when the gospel writers speak of Simon, they'll always generally give some way of knowing which Simon they meant. You know, Simon Peter or Simon Bar-Jonah, they'll call him sometimes. Or here, Simon the leper, a different Simon, and not one with current skin disease, but one who either had a family history of it or himself had it. That was just a way of demarking which Simon this was. So Jesus is at the reclining at dinner, which means it was a fairly formal dinner, at the house of Simon the leper in Bethany, which is a walk outside of Jerusalem. Now, this is during Pesach, Passover week, and Jerusalem, there's no room at the inn. I mean, the hotels will be absolutely jam-packed full. People typically stayed outside of Jerusalem because the city was just crazy that week. So Jesus stays in Bethany. He's at the house of Simon the leper, and while he's reclining, a woman who's not named in the way Matthew tells the text, an unnamed woman, comes in with an alabaster flask, and she anoints the Jesus there with great love and care and concern. And it's an interesting story the way Matthew tells it, because Matthew has, and Matthew himself being one of the apostles, Matthew has the apostles kind of muttering under their breath, you know, this is absolutely outrageous. Here she is, she's just taken a flask of this anointing oil. It's worth like a year's wages. And she could have sold it. That money could be used for the poor. That's the purpose of Jesus and his ministry, is to reach out to the poor. How dare she do this? This is just typical of a sinful woman. You can hear the mutterings. Now, it's interesting because Matthew says that Jesus, is often translated, knew what they were saying. But it's not the typical verb akuo, which means Jesus heard. It's gnosko, which means Jesus knew. In other words, he couldn't distinctly hear their rumblings and their mutterings, but he knew what they were saying. And Jesus says to them, he says, I want you to contrast some things. You are calling what this woman did a waste. You're saying that this was, apoleia is the Greek word, just ruined, destroyed, that she just threw away this perfume that could have been used for the poor. Now, you're always going to have the poor, Jesus says, but something monumental is about to happen to me. I'm about to go through something absolutely horrendous. And what this woman has done out of her kindness and her love and her devotion and her caring, that which you call waste, I see as beautiful. Kalos in the Greek. This kind and loving deed of this woman, Jesus says, will be remembered to the end of the ages. Now, here's my meditation and my reflection on this story. Simon the leper has the house where the dinner's going on. The apostles are there. But Jesus says an unnamed woman's kind and loving deed will be remembered and spoken of throughout the ages. So first, I want to speak of this woman. I want to mention her. I want to mention her kind and loving deed. I also want to mention all of the unnamed people for almost 2,000 years who have shown a loving devotion that is beautiful to Christ. Do we always make the best decisions? No. Do we always do what is absolute best? No. But how many times have we tried to show our love for Christ? I want to show mine more, and I want to honor those who've shown theirs. And so many who were unnamed, they weren't doing it so we would say, oh, look how good they were. They were doing it out of a kind and loving heart for the Lord. I want that kind of heart. I want a heart that says, I'm going to serve Jesus today without drawing attention to it. I'd like to be an unnamed servant. But you know who I am. I am Mark Lanier, and this is your video thought for the day. Please join me tomorrow for Maundy Thursday.